Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1718B, and today's date is November 16th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Future Proves Past 302, 53 to 47. Coincidence? Mathematically impossible. Now, before we start, I wanted to talk about privacy on how the NSA, CIA, corporations are tracking and spying on us 24/7. We know hackers have the ability to access our computer, cameras, microphones. This Black Friday month, Virtual Shield is offering 40% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons. And don't forget about IdentiSafe, which allows the customer the ability to block off computer, microphone, and camera access from any unwanted spies, hackers. Virtual Shield VPN is one of the easiest VPNs to use in the world. Their no-log policy protects its users from any data breaches. So check out the link below and start protecting yourself today, because we all have the right to remain private. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, today there were two things that were confirmed that Q posted. Now, a lot of times when Q posts, we believe that it has to do with that post. Now, I think Q does this sometimes on purpose because Q doesn't want the other side to know exactly what is going on. But later on, when we look at this, we can then tell, oh, Q was talking about this. And this is why Q always says future will prove the past. And Q many times says, these coincidences are mathematically impossible. Now, we'll be getting into that in just a bit. But first, I want to talk about what is happening with Acosta and CNN. Judge Timothy J. Kelly of the U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia, well, he granted CNN a temporary restraining order Friday, saying that the White House must return CNN White House correspondent Jim Acosta's press pass. Now, the judge did not rule on whether the president and his aides violated Acosta's First Amendment rights by suspending the hard pass in the first place. Kelly did, however, rule on CNN's Fifth Amendment argument that Acosta was denied due process before revoking the press pass, thus granting temporary relief by ordering Acosta's pass be returned. Now, this is his hard pass. The White House said it will abide by the judge's ruling and return Acosta's pass. Today, the court made clear that there is no absolute First Amendment right to access the White House. In response to the court, we will temporarily reinstate the reporter's hard pass. Now, remember, this is a temporary restoration of Acosta's pass. Full arguments haven't been heard yet. So this is an ongoing thing. I know CNN and the rest are out there making it seem like, oh, they won. No, this is just the beginning. And I know that CNN and many of the other mainstream media outlets, they're out there saying, see, we won. It's the First Amendment right. He has the right to be there. And it looks like it's going in our favor. Well, this is not exactly what is happening, because the judge didn't rule on the First Amendment, first of all. And second of all, this is a temporary restoration of his pass until all arguments are heard. So as of right now, nothing really has been done. And we can see that the mainstream media, they are projecting out there that they've won this entire battle, which they have not. We see with the election fraud, something very interesting happened today. Florida Republican Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis would have increased their margins of victory if Broward County did not narrowly miss the 3 p.m. deadline by 2 minutes, which is 3:02. We've seen this number before. Where did we see it? Well, we saw it in Post 2491. I'll get to that in just a minute. So they missed the deadline by 2 minutes to submit machine recount results for the state's midterm election. The recount would have increased DeSantis' lead over Democrat Andrew Gillum in the race for governor by 755 votes, while Scott's lead could have lifted him by 779 votes. Now, it's very interesting that it was 2 minutes late and the time was 3:02. So if we go to Post 2491, Q wrote the following. As of 3:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, comma, and then it says QAnon is now the number 2 most attacked entity behind POTUS within the U.S. Now, this is very interesting that Q put the exact time that the Broward County election officials missed the deadline. That looks like a confirmation to me. Now, Marco Rubio is out there, and he's saying that he has proof of election fraud. Now, what he's saying is that Democrat leaders in Florida directed staffers and volunteers to alter election forms to fix improper absentee ballots after the deadline. The plan was to have Florida voters fix and submit as many absentee votes as possible in hopes of including them in the vote totals. The email was sent out to Democrat activists before Nelson and his party allies filed a series of lawsuits challenging some voting rules that applied during the election, claiming they disenfranchised voters. A federal judge then ruled in Democrat favor to count these votes. So Marco Rubio tweeted out the following: "No evidence of fraud in Florida election, ? Dems got voters to use altered forms to fix and submit as many mail ballots as possible after Florida deadline in hopes that a judge would later order state to count them. Today, that's exactly what a federal judge did." Now, when you look at the form that was sent out, it is very interesting because it looks like the Florida Democrats were organizing a broader statewide effort beyond those counties to give voters the altered forms to fix improper absentee ballots after the November 5th deadline. Democratic Party leaders provided staffers with copies of a form known as Cure Affidavit that had been modified to include an inaccurate November 8th deadline. And when you look closely at the form, it does say November 8th. And it looks like that this was planned. And Marco Rubio is saying this is voter fraud. Here is the proof. So what we're seeing, and Trump has said this, the spotlight is on all of these areas because they're watching them, they're recording, they're gathering the evidence, and they're going to present this at a later date. And this is bits and pieces of all the evidence. Now, something very interesting happened today. Trump tweeted something out. Let me read you the tweet. "People are not being told that the Republican Party is on track to pick up 2 seats in the U.S. Senate. An epic victory. 53 to 47. The fake news media only wants to speak of the House, where the midterm results were better than other sitting presidents." Now, he tweeted out the numbers 53 to 47. Now, remember, Q always said to us that the Senate was the goal. They got the Senate. Trump tweeted out 53 to 47. Where did we see this number? Now, back when Kavanaugh was being confirmed, Q on October 2nd, post 2318, posted 53 to 47. Now, we thought this had to do with Kavanaugh, but now we know better. Now we know it has to do with the Senate race. Post 2493, on November 13th, Q put out 53-47. So here we are with another confirmation. The Senate is controlled now by Trump and gang. And the House now is controlled by the deep state. But we need to remember the executive order that Trump signed that has to do with election fraud, where there's going to be a report 45 days later. And remember, the DHS is monitoring, gathering evidence, going to produce a report, which will then lead to voter ID regulations, laws. Once they produce the report of election fraud, and we can see evidence is being gathered, many people are filming, many people are showing the proof of how there has been election fraud. I think we're going to see a lot of people where they thought they won. Remember, they get confirmed in January. This is going to happen in December. These people who thought they won, well, they might be losing their seats. And who knows, control in the House might switch. We'll have to wait and see. But because Trump and gang has the Senate right now, because the Senate was always the goal, Senator Lindsey Graham, he is poised to become the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee after Senator Chuck Grassley announced Friday that he would step down to take over the chairmanship of the Finance Committee. So Lindsey Graham, who used to be controlled by McCain, is no longer under the control of McCain and can do what Trump wants him to do. And we see earlier this week, Senator Lindsey Graham said something very interesting. He said if I became the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, he would further investigate the FBI's botched probe of Hillary Clinton's private server. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, are the pieces and the players being all put into place? So this is foolproof? I mean, that's where we're headed right now. Now, we know the caravan is still moving up the border here. We know they are in San Diego. A lot more are arriving right now. Yes, they are climbing over their wall. Jim Acosta is completely wrong because he was questioning Trump on the election commercial that CNN wouldn't run showing illegals jumping over the wall. And Trump said these are not actors. These are real people. They're jumping over the wall. And Acosta said, well, I don't think the people that are coming up now are going to be jumping over the wall. Well, they are. Why aren't they going to the port of entry? If they're really seeking asylum, why aren't they using the process? Why are they going up to the wall, climbing over, and trying to get into the country? Very interesting. But Trump tweeted out, and this is going back to October 18th, I am watching the Democrat Party, led because they want open borders and existing weak laws, assault on our country by Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, whose leaders are doing little to stop the large flow of people, including many criminals. Now, this is all caps, including many criminals from entering Mexico to U.S. Here's another tweet from the same day. The assault on our country at our southern border, including the criminal elements and drugs pouring in, is far more important to me as president than trade or the USMCA. Hopefully, Mexico will stop this onslaught at their northern border. All Democrats' fault for weak laws. Now, there was an undercover investigative reporter that blended into the group, and this is Ami Horowitz, traveled to the southern Mexican state, joined the caravan, and moved with the migrants as they made their way north in the hopes of entering the United States illegally. What he uncovered is the following. The mainstream media is carving a false narrative out of real events, and the movement is being heavily funded by leftist groups with millions and millions of dollars. When you see a photo, he says, in the New York Times or the Washington Post or on CNN, BBC, MSNBC, what do you see? You see the entire framing are just women and children. But he's saying the reality is this is a close-up shot of very few individuals. Most of the group is made up of 90 to 95% of all men. Now, this is very interesting because Trump did tweet out, this is on October 29, 2018, many gang members and some very bad people are mixed into the caravan heading to our southern borders. Please go back. You will not be admitted into the United States unless you go through the legal process. This is an invasion of our country, and our military is waiting for you. So, what happens with all these individuals? Because we know this is a specific plan. They're not coming up to seek asylum. You might have a very small percentage, but most of these individuals, they are put into this group for a specific agenda. Now, most of these individuals are probably terrorists like Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, probably drug dealers, human traffickers, MS-13 gangs, and they're all intermixed into these caravans, and they're done on purpose to push their agenda once they reach the border, and that is to create chaos. Now, what would happen if these human traffickers, these gang members, drug dealers, terrorists are caught by the border agents or the military where they protected the borders? Wouldn't they look like heroes? Wouldn't they say, well, look at this. We caught 25 gang members. Look, we caught 15 human traffickers. Look, we caught terrorists. And if this does happen, the entire plan of the deep state, Soros and the rest, completely backfires. Because think about it for a second. Their agenda is to show that dreamers and asylum seekers want to enter the country. This is their big plan here. And they want to show that Trump is stopping them at the border, not allowing the dreamers, the asylum seekers, to come in. Now, of course, if these people were truly dreamers and asylum seekers, they would go to the port of entry and they would go through the process. I believe that Trump, military intelligence, they already know what's in these caravans. This is why Trump is tweeting out, letting us know that they already know that there are gangs, bad people, and things like that. The military and the border agents put into place will capture these individuals, and it won't be small groups. It won't be like one or two. It's going to be huge groups of individuals. Trump then will go on Twitter, because most likely the mainstream media won't report this, and say, we stopped, 15, 20 gang members, 30 human traffickers, whatever the numbers are going to be. We are protecting the borders. Do you want these people in here? This is why we need to vet everyone. This is why they need to go through the process. He's going to reverse this whole thing on them. They think their plan is going to work. Trump, Q team, and the rest, they're already planned for this. And the whole thing is going to fail for the deep state. We see WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Well, we know that he was the individual that was behind the massive dump of classified U.S. documents in 2010. And it looks like there was a leak of a sealed indictment showing that Julian Assange, well, he was targeted. And we know through Clinton's emails, they wanted Julian Assange. They wanted him dead, actually. And this is very interesting because the prosecutors revealed the existence of the sealed indictment inadvertently in a court filing in an unrelated case. The exact nature of the charges against Assange was not immediately known. The still unsealed charges against Assange were disclosed by Assistant U.S. Attorney Kellen Dwyer as she made a filing in the unrelated case and urged the judge to keep that filing sealed. Now, how in the world did this get leaked out and mixed up? This doesn't even make sense because they were putting it out there on purpose. And the question is, why would they put this out there on purpose like this? To show that there was a sealed indictment against Julian Assange. Remember, he dumped all those emails of Clinton. What's coming? The investigation into Clinton. The FISA D-class. The unsealing of indictments. People standing trial. They're putting it out there to head this off. They already know what's coming. And to show that, well, there was a sealed indictment against him because what he did was illegal. And they're going to try to use that tactic, but it's not going to work. Let's move on out to Yemen, because what's very interesting is that the Trump administration already stopped the refueling of Saudi aircraft. And this was put into place when the deep state had control, when the deep state told Saudi Arabia to invade Yemen. We already see that Mattis and others, they've been saying that, we need to have peace, we need to have a ceasefire, trying to calm the situation down. But what's very interesting is that on November 14th, House Republicans, and remember, Democrats, Republicans, there are still bad individuals in both parties. They blocked a resolution to end a war in Yemen by ending U.S. military support for Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Now, Yemen is an American war. It was launched by Bush Cheney, then supported by Obama for 8 years. And Trump came into office and he took all this on. But if you notice, they've been slowly dismantling what they had in place. And you can't do everything at once. So this resolution didn't go through. The war is still continuing. And this has to do with Republicans and Democrats, those individuals that are still pushing the agenda. We see Saudi Arabia right now, they're drafting a UN resolution condemning Syria for human rights abuses. Now, Syria is turning around and they're doing the same thing to Saudi Arabia. what is happening is the deep state, they are pushing their agenda every way they possibly can because everything is coming to an end. They're making up ridiculous stories that Assad controlled the Islamic State. Assad was torturing his own people, gassing his own people. I mean, really, if you think about it, he's killing his own people. He's torturing his own people. He's making the people suffer, but people vote for him. They want him in office. People come back from outside of Syria to go back to their homes because Assad is so bad. It doesn't even make sense. Actually, the people reporting on the ground saying since the terrorists are gone, life is so much easier in their villages, in their towns, in their cities. And again, it's strange that after all this time, not one person brought up maybe the terrorists, because they are terrorists, maybe they're using chemical weapons. Maybe they're torturing the people. Maybe they're pushing terrorism in the country. But again, they always looked away from that. Because again, the terrorists were the paid mercenary army of the coalition forces. They used them. They were their paid army. And this is why they always deflected from them. Now, Saudi Arabia, who was involved in this, they're becoming very, very nervous. Other countries are becoming nervous. The United States, the deep state, they're becoming nervous because all fingers will be pointing to them. Remember, the people were lied to about this. I mean, most of the people don't even realize that the intelligence community, the coalition forces, were using these terrorist groups to remove governments. Do you think the people would agree to this if everyone knew? No. A lot of people in government, they had no clue because they were lied to by who? The intelligence community, the deep state, the ones that were in control. But everything is starting to fall apart, and they're scrambling. They don't know what to do. And they're making up stories that don't even make sense. The walls are closing in around them. All the players are being put into place. We're seeing confirmation after confirmation that everything is going as planned. It's just a matter of time. And time is definitely running out. I'm saying within the next, 3-4 weeks, we're going to see a lot change. And it's going to get a lot worse for the deep state, which means they're going to ramp up their agenda. And we're going to see a lot more events, a lot more things happening. We have the caravan thing happening very soon. It's already started. But they're going to build that chaos up. Just watch and see. Watch what happens when the election fraud report comes out. They're going to freak out. And you're going to see events then too. Because everything is crashing down around them. Because once those pieces are into place, guess what? There's nothing else they can do. Everything will be released. And let the fun begin. Now, once everything is released, it's not going to be a snap of the finger and everyone's going to go, oh, look, there's the truth. See, look, everything's done with. No, they're going to fight back. A lot of the majority of the public, they're not even going to believe it. They're going to reject it. Actually, Q has told us this before. They're going to reject it. They're going to be angry. And it's going to take some time. And that's why they're going to continually put out carpet bombs to bring everyone into the fold until the big one comes out, the mother of all bombs. And this is going to take some time. Remember when you were first woken up? You were angry, you had to do research, you couldn't believe it. Well, a lot of people are going to go through the same stages, and it's going to take some time. And this is why evidence will have to be dripped out. So people hear it, because the mainstream media, they're going to try to cover it up. More people will be moving away from the mainstream media and going to the alternative media, going to Twitter to listen to what the president's saying, going to other people that are reporting on what is going on. And we're going to see a huge shift. And the mainstream media, the deep state, the intelligence agencies, they're going to be off their rockers. They're not going to know what to do at this point. And the only thing they have left is to push events. And that's pretty much what they're going to do. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.